Hey, welcome to Winning HQ. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what the best crypto launchpads are to help you 100x your money. All right, so let's dive right into it. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos and I hate it when people just beat around the bushes and I'm just going to jump right into it. All right, so the too long didn't read. So if you don't have any time to actually watch the full analysis, here's my top 3 picks in my humble opinion, of the best launch pads out there. Okay, so if you don't have time, here are the ones that you want to research and look more into. So number one is Paid. Their platform is called Ignition, right? Paid Ignition, Poker Starter, and then that's the top 2. And kind of I grouped the other 3 into my top 3, which is DuckDAO, and then the other one is DAO and Swap. I think this one is Trust Swap. And this one, I believe, is called, what is it? DAO Maker. Okay, so if you just want to go ahead and research those launchpads for yourself, go ahead. But if you stick around, what I'm going to actually share with you is that at the end, I'm going to go through all of my research here and tell you where the list of these projects stand. But also, I'm going to give you one extra bonus launchpad that actually not listed on here that I'm actually really bullish on. Okay, so stay into the end. Now, if you're gonna stick around, here's why people are interested in launchpads, right? And I believe this is one of the most bullish area of the crypto world right now, beside DeFi, beside NFTs, right, and the Ethereum killers that we are seeing right now. So not a lot of people are looking at launchpads, but the launchpads have done really well. Okay, so why do people want to get into launchpads? Number one is it gets you access to private and public sales before the general public, right? So imagine that if you could invest in Amazon or Apple or Tesla before they were listed on the NASDAQ, right? So that's really the number one reason why people want to get into private or public sales and onto these launchpads. And because of that, it actually gives you opportunities to actually 100x, or in some cases 1,000x your investment, right? Not only that, on top of that, in addition to actually giving you access to these projects at an early stage, it actually also, the tokens that you hold for these launchpads will also appreciate as well. So you kind of get to actually double dip on both ends, right? So your tokens that you hold is also going to go in value, but also it gives you access to early projects, right? So that's really why people are interested in launchpads. And I don't think there's enough I guess, interest in this yet, and not a lot of people are looking into this as much as DeFi or NFT. And I think that this is one of those things where if you can get into some of these coins early, it's going to really help you make a lot more money comparatively, right? So that's the why. So how I came around to this list is I actually look at a list of 13 different launchpads. I look at their market cap, the token price, the mechanism for them to actually, like, how do you actually win, some of the project they are launching, and then the average return, right? And also the token appreciation, and things like that, right? So to come up with the list here. So I'm going to tell you what my top 3s are. I kind of already did, but I'm going to tell you why you should get involved in them and how to actually get involved. And then, like, one bonus one that's actually not on this list, but I'm actually very, very, very bullish on, that you want to pay attention to. So here we go. So before I go into, like, the research and how I came to this, research, is the first thing is I want to establish some key terms that you might not know about, right? So there's, like, public and private sales. What this really means is, in a private sales, it's the first round of token sales that the project owner is going to offer. So a lot of the time, most people like you and me do not have access to the private sales, right? So in the venture capital world, this would be like be called the seed round, where they're gonna have just a handful of investors that give the first initial capital to get the project started. And then the public sales is when it opens up to like everybody else, right? The general public. So that's like the key differentiation. So when you think of a project where they offer both private sales and public sales, what that means is if a project offer private sales, it means that it's never been sold before. It's actually opening up for the investor for the first time, right? And there's like different levels of it too. I'm not going to go into it. But that's what you should know. If a project offer both private and public, it means private sales usually are the first investors, and then publics are everybody else. Then there's like different terms when it comes to how these tokens are launched, right? So there's the lottery, there's guarantee, there's community, there's first come and first serve. Lottery just means that if you hold the token of a project, so for example, if you hold a pay token, as long as you hold it, you're going to be entered into a lottery to win an allocation. And I'll tell you what an allocation is. A guaranteed, I guess, allocation means that as long as you hold a certain number of tokens, you are going to be guaranteed an allocation. And an allocation is just how much you're allowed to buy of a coin, right? So for example, you might be a project called Split or ShopX, right? Split. The token was worth 4 cents and the allocation was $200, meaning that if you win an allocation, they are going to allow you to spend a maximum of $200 to buy the Split token at 4 cents. So that's what an allocation means, right? So a lottery means you're going to have a chance of winning. And then a guarantee means that as long as you hold a certain number of tokens for that LaunchPad, you're going to be a guarantee an allocation. And that allocation could be $200. It could be up to $1,000 or more. Okay? A community allocation means that as long as you hold a token, it doesn't have to be any number of, it can just be one, right? So as long as you hold one token, you have a chance of winning. Okay, and then first come, first serve is, kind of simple here. As long as you hold a token, if you're the first in line, you can buy them. Okay, so and it will become clear as I show you different launch pads. Then there's IDO, ICO, KYC, whitelisting. So IDO and ICOs are really meaning the same thing. So ICO, this is back in the 2017 crypto bull run. ICO stands for initial coin offering, and IDO stand for initial DEX offering. They really mean the same, kind of similar, kind of the same thing, right? It's the first time that they offer the coin, the project, the token for sales. KYC means know your customer. So KYC is a requirement it's a legal requirement where anytime you are raising money from a project like a token sales, you have to basically figure out and keep track of where the customers are at, what country they're in, right? And that's what the KYC is. So each project will have different requirement for KYC, meaning that if you're in a certain countries, you might not be able to participate. A lot of the times, people who live in the U.S. are not eligible to actually participate in these IDOs. Okay, whitelisting means that once you've done your KYC, you've been whitelisted, meaning you're allowed to participate in the sales now. Right? It doesn't mean that you're gonna be granted or given an allocation automatically. It just means that you've put your name on the list. Okay, so that's really what whitelisting means. And then each and every single token sales have their own requirements. So some of them are, make you go on Twitter and actually share the token and share the news on your social media. A lot of them will require you to, show take a picture of your photo of your driver license, right, where you live and things like that. So each project have their own requirements. So that's why it's important the bottom line is you've got to read and you've got to familiarize yourself with each token sales on each LaunchPad. So the LaunchPad themselves have their own requirement, and then the token sales, the IDO itself have their own requirement to participate, if that makes sense. So if I had to recap this, the tokens like the LaunchPad give you an opportunity to participate, and then each token has its own requirement. So just keep that in mind. And your best friend is just to read and read a lot and do a lot of research. Okay. Great. So now that we know the key terms, I'm going to go into like when it comes to launchpads, I thought about like what's most important as an investor like you and me, right? I thought I come up with 5 different, I guess, criterias or reasons to look into it. Number one is the mechanism, right? Like how do we enter? And then how do we win an allocation? Number 2 is the cost to enter, right? Like how much is it going to cost us just to gain an opportunity to participate? Number 3 is what's the average return on our investment? Obviously, that's important. And then number 4 and number 5 is vesting, meaning that is there any requirement for us to actually hold that token and that IEOs for a long time? Like how long do we need to hold it and have it in our wallet before we could sell, right? So if it's like 2 years out, that might not be what we are looking for. And then number 5 is how likely are we to win? Okay, so in my list, I don't have the answer to all of these 5. This is why the research come in, and that's why it's really important to do your own research. But I'm going to give you my best shot at like which ones are the ones that actually have the best chances, right, and the best return. So these are the things you want to keep in mind. And number 5 is like, is it worth it for you to enter? Right. So beyond like, okay, you're going to win some coins. It's really important to know, like, are you actually going to actually make money from this? Right. So the 3 things that I think you want to think about again is cost to enter, likelihood of winning, and then the opportunity cost, meaning you're going to be locking up a lot of money into these launch pads for, hopefully a chance of winning. So could your money be deployed somewhere else, right? And this is something, again, you have to think about, and I'll tell you my opinions as well. So let's look at the comparison here. I've looked, again, like I mentioned, I looked at 13 different ones, and again, to kind of save you the time, the top 3 or 5 that I've looked at really is number 1 is paid ignition. I have the biggest bag in paid. Number 2 is Poker Starter. Okay, and I'm just going to highlight them in different color. And then there's DuckDAO, there's DAO Maker, and then there's TrustSwap. Okay, and I'll talk to you through each one of these just so you have an idea on like what it takes to get involved, and then like what the returns are. Okay, so I thought when it comes to these launch pads, the most important thing is return, right? Like what are you actually going to get for holding that? And then token appreciation is so important. Like, are we actually going to make some money just by holding the token? And then what's also important is what does it cost me to just enter and just get a chance of winning? And then a lot of the time, most of these projects will have like a minimum number of a token to enter, and then if you hold a certain number of tokens, you're also guaranteed an entry. Okay, so I'll just talk you through each one of these here really quickly. So Poker Starter is probably the most well-known launchpad out there. They have the most number of projects built as well. It's actually surprisingly not the one with the biggest market cap. That actually belongs to paid ignition, but we'll get to that in a minute. So the mechanism here is basically, from my research, it's basically first come, first serve, right? And they have a lot of different projects coming up or listing. I think a Poker Starter almost like an Amazon of of projects where you just go there and there's an endless number of different projects you can choose from, right? And the reason why it's number two is because I think that it's first come first serve. You can't really, I guess, game the system or gain a competitive advantage, right? And the average return for the project on PokerStarter is 33x. What that means is if you invest $1, you're on average, right? Again, it's an average number. You're getting $33 worth of your dollars invested. Okay, you need to have at least 3,000 tokens to participate in most cases. Right now, caveat here: a lot of these projects will allow you to buy the launches without holding it, but your chance of winning is very low, right? So you always if you're gonna play this game, you want to hold at least the minimum required token here, right? So entry token, you need at least 3,000. At the current price right now on Sunday, April the 3rd at $4.14, that means you need to have 12 grand to participate and have the most chance of winning. Again, you can, if you do your own research here on PokerStarter.com, you're going to see that there's other ways to participate where you don't have to hold these many tokens, but I don't think that's going to give you a very good chance of winning either, right? And they don't have a guaranteed tier, right, where you hold a certain number of token and you will guarantee an allocation. So at least you want to have at least 12 grand invested. Second is paid ignition. They have like one of the probably paid has like the best hot projects coming up. It also have the highest market cap, which is crazy because I don't think it's been around as long as PokerStarter has. Token price is about the same with PokerStarter. And the great thing about paid is you don't like the minimum entry is 1,000. Okay, so where PokerStarter, the mechanism is first come first serve from my research, and if I'm wrong, tell me in the comment. With paid ignition, it's actually a combination of you get a lottery for holding a certain number of paid tokens, and also there's a guaranteed tier as well. And in some cases, it actually give you access to private allocation. So remember in our slide previously, you can go and you can have private sales or public sales. Paid gives you access to both, right? And some of the launches that you've done recently, Split, I believe, was a 100x on the first day. EOS was, I think, 200x. And blind boxes might have been 50x on the first day. That's the notable launch that just ended. They have a few upcoming launches here, X-Fi and Deeper. Both of them I'm very bullish on. And from the CEO of the company, they actually have 25 more projects coming up in the next 3 to 6 weeks. Their average return on investment is crazy. It's 135x. It's almost like there's a caveat or like a asterisk on this. And I've listed out like where my sources are as well. This look at the last 3 projects or the last 5 projects that I've done. And I just did an average number on, the last 4. So like DAOs, blind boxes, ShopX, and EOS. Average of those 4 is 135x. Okay, so they do have the hottest projects there is. And you can see the token appreciation here. It probably have done very, very well comparatively. The only other thing that have done better is probably TrustSwap. So this is why paid ignition is my number 1 choice. Number 1 is you don't have to hold as many just to enter, right? So as long as you hold 1,000 paid tokens, you have one, lottery ticket, okay, to enter. Now, if you want a guaranteed allocation, you need to hold 75,000 paid tokens. It also costs the most on this list as well at $333,000. If you have these many paid tokens, you can have a guaranteed allocation. The problem with this is that the allocation usually ranges between 150 to like $200, so it's not very big. However, I have heard that someone who have 11,000 tokens of paid recently. So he had about $50,000 worth of paid tokens, and he won all three of these. He won split AOS and blind boxes, and I'm pretty sure between those three, he's made more than his holding in the 11,000 paid tokens. So this is why I put paid at number one. The cost of entry is low. The average return is very, very high. And also it sounds like, and I don't have the actual metric for this, it sounds like if you hold a certain number of tokens, you have a reasonable chance of winning. Okay. That's number one. And then number two, we have Duck Down and Downmaker and Trust Swap, and I'll just talk about these very, very quickly. So DuckDAO, they focus on private and public rounds. They are an incubator, and they do marketing for the project as well. So they're just not a LaunchPad. They can help a project actually incubate and actually launch and do marketing and things like that. Relatively low market cap. Their mechanism is lottery, and also first come and first serve. So again, this is going to come out in your research, right? But here's very quickly, they have two kind of different tiers. 50% of the allocation for the coin is going to be basically from a lottery ticket, and then it comes to first come, first serve, right? Some of their notable launches are Bondly, that have done really well, Collateral DeFi, Key Tango. The ones that are coming up is TotemFi. I'm actually pretty bullish on this one. BeyondFi and Crypto Nova. The average return is about 10x. And again, I didn't come up with this number myself. This is just actually from another research source on Twitter. Their token haven't appreciated as much as say PokerStarter and paid, right? And this is why it's on my list to be selected. The cost to entry is not very high as well. You need 2,000 tokens, and with today's prices, that's about $4,000. I don't think this is a guaranteed token. It wasn't clear in my research, but the recommended token that you want to hold is about 10,000 if you want like the best chances of winning, and that puts you at 20K. And again, that's not very high either comparatively. So that's DuckDAO. Number three again is Downmaker. Downmaker is funny because they have all of these like different fancy words and very smart sounding, like social mining, stronghold offering. They're kind of similar from my research to DuckDAO, where they also offer both private and public sales. They will help a project launch in addition to like actually just listing them for the public sales. Pretty good market cap, pretty good pricing. The way that they launch is also lottery. And also there's a private and public sales, right? So the way that they have their launches, they're called a merit round. This is when you hold at least 500 DAO tokens or more, and then there's a community round where you don't need to hold a DAO. It's just open to everybody, and it's just by lottery. But you get a lot more chances of winning, and the pool, or like the total number of token you can win, is a lot higher if you hold a DAO token. Okay. Notable launches are Daffy, Happy, and Aluna. I think Aluna have done pretty well here. The one that's coming up that's actually pretty bullish is Seer Network. They have an average of 35x on the last 6 projects, and I just kind of taken that off from their website. Again, this is why they make the number 3. The reason why they're not number 1 and number 2 really is they don't have a lot of projects coming up. I couldn't really find it in my research. But however, the cost of entry is very low, so they don't really have a guaranteed tier. As long as you hold 500 down, you are, I guess, allowed to participate in the game in the launch. Okay, so that's down. And number 3 is Trust Swap. And by the way, just because these ones don't have my voting on it doesn't mean they're not good, right? Your chance of winning are still good there. But these are the ones that I would kind of choose to specialize on. So number 3 is Trust Swap. They have launches, and then what they have what they call flash launches, which is kind of different, and this is why I included them in the top 3. Market cap is actually quite pretty good. I think it might be number 3 on this list here. The way that it works for them is if you if it's a flash launch, it's a lottery ticket, and then if it's a regular launch, which is what we are talking about here, it's guaranteed. And in order to qualify for the guaranteed, you need 4,000 tokens. At current price today, that's going to be 16 grand. So it actually is the cheapest for the guaranteed here. But the issue is they don't really have an easy entry, right? The only thing that you get to participate in, if you don't have 4,000 tokens, is their lottery for flash launches. And I've looked at their flash launches list. Those tokens aren't not top tier project that you might want to focus on. Okay, so the launches that they have, and I think these are guaranteed, is Chain Games, MobiPay, and Yield. I couldn't really see where their coming launches are. And their average return is 33x, with a caveat, because what I did is I just kind of average all of the project that is listed on their website. So I haven't really verified their prices. The problem with them is that they've run up the most out of this list here at 13,000% since July 2020. However, they make the top 3 because their cost of guarantee token is very low. Right. I guess the other ones are going to be honorable mention. They are Pool Z. They only focus on IDO, so they don't really focus on like private sales. But also they have a twist with like you can actually list your NFTs on there. They call it NFT auctions. Relatively low market cap. The mechanism here is community and guaranteed, and this one is actually probably the most unique out of this list. The top 100 people who hold the most number of tokens get guarantee allocation, and then everybody else have an equal chance. They call it the community allocation, and the more tokens that you hold in pools, the more chances of you winning. Or actually, the more you get from it. They're saying, the thing that they say from my research is that the top 100 get guarantee allocation in a certain amount, and then the community, meaning as long as you hold even one pool's token, you get an opportunity to buy. And it might be like very low, but you have a chance to buy anyways. I hope that makes sense. Now, for the guarantee token, I looked at the top 100. And again, you can go to this link here to see who are the top 100. The bottom top 100 have at least 2,500 tokens in their wallet. So if you want guaranteed tokens, you have to beat this number, and that means that you're going to have to need at least $91,000 for a guaranteed token. But I like this project because as long as you hold even one token at $36, you're somehow, I'm not even sure how that works, guaranteed an allocation. It might be 10 cents, but it's something, right? So that's pools. The other one that's notable is MantraDAO. So MantraDAO, again, they instead of having their own token for Zendit is the LaunchPad, what you do is you basically stake the OM token here on the Zendit platform, And how you win is there's going to be a lottery system. Some of the notable launches here is Labs, which is a real estate NFT type of project. Leprechaun, I'm not even sure. Poker Foundry. The one that they have coming up is Troto Gains and Finminity. To be honest with you, I've never heard of these projects. This is why they didn't make the top 3. The average return is 18x, and I did that with the last 3 projects. And Labs basically 20x from their initial pricing. The bottom token is when you have to hold a Poker Pet, which is an NFT for ManchoDAO. I'm not even sure how to like actually value that, and that's why they're on here. But I've seen a lot of good reviews about this. Just people holding ManchoDAO, like the OM token, so that's why they're on the honorable list here. So I would say if we had to pick, this would be probably number 4. This is number 5. And then down here, what I have is actually all of these projects who are kind of in betweens. They don't really fall into like, hey, you need to get on this right away. But I think they're good to keep on your radar. Okay, so I'm going to go back to that in a second. So the game here, I think the optimal strategy, right, is number 1, you want to pick one LaunchPad. And either it's going to be the LaunchPad with like the most promising projects, the most established, or what I would do is I would pick like the one who are launching and not very well known yet, and I'll tell you about those things coming up here. Then you want to specialize in one of them and do research. Just like understand exactly how you win on just one of these, okay? And then you basically double down on that one LaunchPad. I think is the way to go, okay? Because again, remember, it's gonna cost a lot of money for you just to get either enter it or a guarantee allocation in it. So you want to pick one and then just crush it in on that platform and on that ecosystem, right? So that's what I think. I think what you should do. Now, again, going back to, is it worth it, right? Remember, you have to think about the cost of entry. So do you want just maybe have a chance of winning? Or do you want like a guaranteed chance of winning? It's going to cost you a lot more. And then the opportunity cost. So in case of paid ignition, if you pick this project, know that the cost of entry is about $4,000 for a lottery chance of winning. Or if you want a guaranteed chance, it's almost, the cost of a house here, right? Now, so I think the optimal strategy is to, if you're gonna do this, right? One is to pick one, specialize in it, and then double down on holding as many of those tokens as possible and winning that. Now, short of that, the other thing that you want to keep in mind is I would either pick one out of the 3 here, right, on this list. If you want to go with like, hey, I want to pick one lottery platform and then win. The other strategy you might want to look at is what are the upcoming launch pads that not a lot of people know about, and then how can you get in early, right? Because these launch pads, they don't have a lot of name recognitions yet. You might want to get into them early. You might want to buy a lot of them at cheaper prices, and then hopefully they will go up, right? So what I have here, this would be like tier 4, like things that are like not proven, but you might want to look into and keep it on your radar. So we got Vault Finance, spelled differently, BSC Pad, KickPad, Card Starter, BCS Starter, and QuickSwap. Okay, and again, remember, stay until the end. I'm going to tell you my unknown gem on this list that's actually not listed here. So just do research into these. I'll tell you very quickly what these ones are. So Vault Finance is supposed to be launching on the Binance Smart Chain. So instead of Most of these here are on the Ethereum smart chain. Vault Finance is on the BSC, the Binance smart chain. They've only had a couple of projects that's launched. The last one is called Swirl Cash at 30 X compared to their listed price. And then the next one coming up is Euler. Okay, so I put 30x here, but it's very unknown because they've only had one project launched. They haven't appreciated as much as the other ones on this list. So that might be one that you want to look at. How it works is as long as you hold 75 entry, like the tokens, you have a chance of winning. To be honest with you, I try to look at their Telegram. It wasn't even very clear how you win. So you might want to look further into this, just so you have a clear idea. The other one is called, out of this list here, probably the one I'm most bullish on is KickPad. Okay, so they haven't launched yet, but they are launching very, very quickly. And the way that they do things is a little bit different. If you want private sales pricing, you have to stake the token, and then if you're just holding the token, then you get public sales. And they have what's called a pool weight score, meaning the more that you hold in the KPAD coin, the more chance of you winning. So they do public and private sales. They do guarantee, lottery, and first come first serve. Again, they haven't launched yet. The first one they're gonna launch is called Orakuru, which is an oracle, I think, on Polkadot. Their prices haven't run up pretty as fast yet, so that's a good sign. And let's see, do I have anything else here? So the way that they work, again, do your own research, is if you want a guarantee token, you only need 1,000 tokens here at $4,000. So on this list, I would say this probably is the most promising project where the cost of entry is very low for a guarantee token. They haven't launched yet, so the hype is not all there yet. And it seems like, I think, Orakuru here will do pretty well. Just given where they at, and the market cap is low. So that's KickPad, and then there's I guess honorable mention. There's BSC Pad. They kind of brand themselves as the first LaunchPad on BSC. Low market cap. They've only really had one or two launches called BSC Views. 15x, not really, have run up pretty fast, again, comparatively to KickPad. Low cost of entry here, but even then, there's 20,000 if you want a guaranteed tier. Card Starter is on the Cardano network. Again, the game here is you want to get in early, right? So if you can figure out how to get in here, you probably can do very well. The problem with Cardano is Cardano doesn't even have smart contract yet, so I don't even know if these projects can launch anytime soon. But the good thing here is it hasn't run up as much yet because of that issue. So keep that on your radar. BSC Starter, I hear this a lot. The problem with BSC Starter is they haven't launched. I've looked at the project, and you can do the same thing. None of them are I'm very hard about. However, the good thing is they have guaranteed allocation, first come first serve, and the cost of entry is also right now relatively low. So you might want to look into that. 1,000 to enter, 10,000 for a guaranteed allocation. So that's good. The other one that I've seen mentioning is QuickSwap, spelled differently. They launch on both Binance and Polkadot. If I had to pick between all of these, KickPad would be number one as far as hey, they haven't launched yet, most chance of winning competitively to the other one that have launched already. This would be this like number, 6.1. This is 6.2, and then this is 6.3. So I would pick like KickPad, QuickSwap, and Vault Finance out of the three. As far as like what you want to keep your eyes on, and what's not even on this list yet, I just remember now, is Sol Starter. So this one is going to launch on Solana. Don't even have it yet. I haven't even reached it yet. I just remember it now. Looking into Sol Starter. Again, just want to keep your attention on this. Again, if you want to pick three, okay? If you're like, I don't have time, I want the most bang for my bucks. Everything is basically a lottery situation, okay? So what I mean by that is, yes, you might have guarantee allocation with some of these platform at lower prices, but the quality of the project might not be there, right? Whereas with something like Paid, yes, this is a lottery, but if you just win one, you could 135 extra return. So this is why Paid is my number one recommendation. If you just like, I just want to buy into this and then forget about it and then, see what my chances and what my luck takes me, is Paid. Poker Starter number two, because you have the most number of different projects that you can pick from. And then from there, really, it's just a matter of like, which one do you like the most? Okay, so if I this is what I'm doing. I'm heavily invested in Paid. I don't have any Poker Starter. What I will do is I'm going to look into the different LaunchPad here that haven't launched yet or haven't run up as much yet, and then try to get into them early and see if I can, one, capitalize on the token appreciation at a cheaper price, and then also hopefully some of my project will do well in the 30, 40, 50, 70x, and then my Paid ignition is really my lottery ticket where, hey, I only need one ticket to pay for my investment here in Paid. So that's my strategy. Hopefully this is helpful. If you have any questions, let me know, and then I'll see you on the next one.